There we are. Forgot to turn my camera on. Shalom, shalom, you guys. Very glad that you're joining us here today. I see some amazing people already that are in the chat room, and I am so glad that you guys are here. We are truly family. So as you can see that we have the title today is creating a new path to paradise. And so I'm going to have, I know Ken's on here. Can you believe it?
Shabbat shalom.
It's both of us today. You don't just get my happy face, you get my husband's as well. And so we both wanted to come on today and talk about some of the changes that we've got coming here very soon. And we are super excited about it. So Ken, did you want to add something to creating a new path to paradise? You helped me with the title of it. So yeah. And this is totally on the fly, guys. We don't really have a lot that is, this is going to be spirit-led conversation today because we don't have anything that's really formulated to express as a teaching.
No, more or less we're just disclosing and why we've been a little bit quiet lately, and how we've been reframing off a foundation to present a new covering per se, because this is all part of paradise or paradise, and you can break it down to how it goes down to the depths of it, from the levels of comprehensions into what paradise means as a layering effect, as a layer.
You want me to do that right now?
Yeah, you can run.
Okay, so paradise, here I go. I get so confused going between English letters and Hebrew and Aramaic that I go to say English and I say Hebrew and Aramaic. So give me a second for my brain to switch back over to English. Paradise is a acrostic that is PRDS. There we go. And it stands for the 4 levels of the sacred writings: the Peshat, the Ramirez, the Drash, and the Sod level. And so there's a level of our sharing, take us from the very surface narratives all the way down to the Sod level, the intimacy, hidden message that is really about the revealing of who we are.
Yeah, it's more of the esoteric about the father component through the navigational component of mother. That through maturation we have revealed. It's the everything of nothing kind of a language, and that's the sod, the depth that is kind of really obfuscated in the scripture. But what we really wanted to just organically flow here is with why we've kind of been, or at least for me, have been a little bit more silent, and what we are building to present right now is a new platform through what is the platform called?
Patreon.
The Patreon account.
You were opening up a Patreon page. I am so excited for this.
The reason for this is it was requested by a lot of people. They through suggestion, they were just saying, hey, how about doing this? And they would support if we did do this. The difficulty is, I think, for Carrie and I, is time. Having the time that, especially in the summertime, this is how we support ourselves, is we have to go to work. So then we miss the opportunity to do the excavations in the morning, and a lot of people seem to enjoy those. So we've kind of restructured it to where we can still offer that. And then sustainability is a huge word in the whole process of what this language is producing this sustainability, and that directly connects to paradise. And so the new path to paradise is really what it is. It's creating a safe environment. The word for environment is connected to paradise in the way that paradise in the Hebrew is Peresh Dalet Samek. And so you're building the ability for the mouth to know, it's Peresh. Did I say Peresh? Peresh.
I'm pretty sure you did.
Okay. Peresh Dalet Samek. So the mouth is able to speak by arising the head, and in that we are able to enter into the doorway that draws us out into the place that surrounds us. That's really what paradise means. You're building something that surrounds you. Paradise isn't so much the destination, is it as the building process. So we're building a park per se, because that's what it connects to, or a forest or an orchard. But it's not necessarily the destination. Like I say, it's more or less the building process of what it is as a surrounding, as an encompassment. And it directly connects to the macro, micro of environment, our own surroundings. What does that look like? And is there a safe spot to create an environment that allows for paradise to be created, or at least a place of gathering in that same frequency? And so in this word for environment of paradise, we get the word encircle, encompass, and surround. And that's the word for environment. Now, environment is broken into two words in the etymology: environ and then ment. So environ means to surround and encircle, and ment is the instrument of the action. And so this is where we get government from. We govern ourselves, but only those that have established it as a measure through action are called government. And so really what we're doing is we're creating our own circumstances of environment, conditions of resolve, or conditions of lifestyle of welfare. And our heart for Carrie and I is to make a safe environment for welfare, to be nourished, and then to propagate that, to assist in body, soul, and spirit. And that's about how I can sum it up as a word per se, is that you're becoming a frequency of intention. Because we know, again, I don't want this to be a teaching session. We're just sharing that the word, sorry, I can do it over here. I'm going the opposite way. The word is more than the word in Hebrew and Aramaic. When we really see the essence of the word, it starts to feather and go multiple directions through the experience of the word. And so it becomes more of an experience per se, and the word just encapsulates it as a summation to say it's many, many things, but we condense it in to call it word. And so we can only really know what the word is through the experience of action, and then we can really define the word through a state of being.
So kind of having said all of that, that's great for a fantastic foundation on there. The only thing I'm going to add is that that word paradise, and I put it up on the screen, the Peresh Dalet Simek. The first two letters of that word mean fruit. And so this is the fruit, the mouth that is speaking from a leadership position. We are actually taking a look at our Patreon page is going to be a little bit more focused into raising us up to be first fruit leaders, all of us, because this is a sovereign language. This is about sovereignty and being able to get everything in a line, everything in balance. You haven't heard much from us. You haven't heard much. Hey, Malik, it's nice to see you here.
Hello, Malik.
Using your avatar name, not your real name. Anyway, sovereignty is really what we're talking about, spiritual sovereignty and raising ourselves up into a place of maturation. So in this Patreon page that we're opening, we're moving into a slightly different fashion and form that gives us a greater ability to connect to you guys, instead of just being random things that we come up with, random verses. We're having more of a focused intention that is coming out. So when that opens on February 22nd of 2022, and for those of you who have known us for a while, you know how important the 222 has been for us since we opened our YouTube channel. So this was a really good date for us to choose to release the Patreon page and change directions in raising leadership within us. You know, the government shall be on the government shall be on the shoulders. We're talking about that Mashiach, the Christ anointing, where we are walking in this ability, where we are self-governing as the self-governed, as coming together as unified into one family, and raising sovereigns. That's really what we're talking about. And so that's why when Ken was talking about body, soul, spirit, mind, that all of these things are going to be addressed in different various ways on our Patreon channel as we continue to build together as family. We have quite a few people that will come every now and then and just take a peek on what the YouTube channel is doing. And sometimes we get comments that come in that are really pulling away from the essence of family. So we wanted to create a safe place for all of us to come together through an energetic exchange. And I'm very excited about that. There was one thing that I wanted to add and share with you guys that just popped up on the top of my head, even though it's been a place of where I've been studying this week. Proverbs 25:22. Some of you guys may know this, and you've heard us talk about it before. This is a verse where it talks about it is the glory of God to conceal a matter and the glory of kings to search a matter out. Well, I find that incredibly interesting that they would choose to translate the word debar as matter, M-A-T-T-E-R, because the word debar really means the word. So it's the glory of king, or it's the glory of God to conceal the word, but it's the glory of kings to search the word out. Changes the whole tone of that one verse. And as we are talking about the Melchizedek priesthood, and because that word's only used 3 times in the English scriptures, although you see hints of that all over the Hebrew and the Aramaic scriptures, the 2 compounded work of Melchi and Zadik, kings and queens of righteousness. Kings and queens of righteousness search the word out, because the word is actually a blueprint of our becoming. And in our creating sovereign family, there are just many things that we want to share. The word Debar, just to let you know, is spelled Dalet Bet Resh. And the Dalet is a letter that means a door, that you go in and you enter into. But it's connected to so much more than that. Even just the number 4, it's connecting man to the earth elements, the 4 earth elements, and that we're taking these things and expanding ourselves from the inside and delivering ourselves from the things that are keeping us ill, weak, and feeble. And you can connect to that to many of Ken's teachings where he's talked about the compass. But the second 2 letters, Bar, is, you find that in the first word of scripture, Barashit, in the beginning. Bet Resh has a meaning of a son, sonship. So you've heard many people speak about sonship, but what does that really mean? Sonship means, if you take a look at the letters, Bet Resh, to build leadership, to build the head, to rise up and to be a first fruit, to build it from the inside out. It also is a word that means, and it's connected to purity and innocence. It's connected to winnowing. It's connected to choosing and selecting that which you feed upon that is going to build you into a leader. So in Dabar, the word, we have this element here of us searching it out. And so this platform of Patreon is really, we're honing it into the people that are really serious to join us in this journey of searching the word out, because it is the glory that will be revealed through the kings and queens of righteousness by us becoming the word made flesh. And I love that. I think that is a beautiful expression of our purpose of what we are intending to do through the Patreon channel. And I wanted to be able to bring that portion of that one verse that I've said many times, but I hadn't looked it up in Hebrew. So I was absolutely shocked and delighted when I saw the word Debar there. It's not just a matter like a court case. We're searching a matter out because we're trying to bring a resolve. It's very specific that they search the word out through the sacred writings.
Yeah, I mean, that even having that dalet there, that anything to do with Melchi, whether it be Adonai Zadik, Melchizedek, the Elohim Zadik, there's a frequency of intention, and that's why I say Paradis as the new pathway to paradise, because everything about this language is a micro macro. You are the micro, the macro is more the earth, is Arya, and it's the component of knowing how to navigate your own environment. We always look at our environment, we can see it's the problems and the issues at hand, but most of us, we distance ourselves, and the problem therefore is removed besides our surroundings. But we can't really do that. When you look at the language, it brings it right home to say you are the surrounding. You are to be encompassed yourself and called environment in the micro. You are the earth because of what it says as the journey into the order of righteousness, as the order of Melchizedek. And this brings in the full measure of the protocols to approach to what the temple is, as going through the way of Yakim, the right-hand pillar, before Boaz, the left hand, is established. We will know the way of well, because there the temple is between the two. And so for Carrie and I, this whole new platform, really, without calling it a platform, I don't like that word in the essence of really anything other than the innocence of a venue to share information. This is all about the protocol to approach as a priestly people restoring the promise of intention. And that is knowing how to circumnavigate our own mindset, because what we like to do is go into a little bit more intimacy about what it is when we talk this way. Is it being a DNA language? Really, everything I'm sharing is thalamus, hippocampus, amygdala language of what is in the center as the pineal, as the face of God, what encompasses you as lava, lavi, as a circlet, as a ring, as a crown, that you have purged fear, and you're in the place of shalom, and that's peace beyond understanding. And really, the language is, we've always shared this with people, the language is not to be worshiped, but when we are activated in the language, we become worship. These are the first fruits of Hara, because this is connected to Yehuda as a praise offering. They will turn grief into gratitude, and that's what the language is. It's not to be worshipped, because you are the worship when you activate the language. And so there's a difference there. I know a lot of people get intimidated with learning a new language, and I'm first to state that we were much intimidated by stepping into something new. But again, that's a mindset and a perspective. If we can break free of that per se and glance at it as a compass, an orienteering device, a goading staff, a prop, however you see that, as a direction of intention to go to the promise of potential. It's a clear, and again, there's a lot of people that are doing it organically, but a lot of people are doing it sometimes a little whimsically, and they're losing sight of the foundation. And this again goes back, we'll be sharing a little bit about the law of the sea, about what is Yah, pitch and roll, as the way of the Asherim, the way of straight, that produces the righteous of the Melka, or the Melki, or the Melka, the kings and queens of righteousness that established the temple protocol by right approach. And so that's kind of a gist of what Paradise is. It's not something, again, it's achieved by building it. And I know for myself, I'll speak for myself, I'm greatly benefited when I know a template of intention to follow as a design to build that exact mirror, and be more of a, because you're a recipient, now I'm the reflection of. And so that's exactly what it's doing as a mirror. So it's more of a study, and Carrie and I want to get more into the depth of the intimate, of the sod level of what it is, as more of the revealing of the mystery of who you are, and how it directly pertains to your intimate environment and your intimate surroundings called you. It doesn't go any further than that, than the vessel of who you are as unique, as an expression. And so that's truly our heart of what this is, why we're moving in this direction. I know I'm excited about it because I get to maybe move in a direction that would allow me to just focus on and work with Carrie again through the extractions that really, I love the organicness of it when we can banter back and forth without having orchestration or have it preformed. I do not like to operate that way. I always like to say, oh my goodness, and just.
He loves the spontaneous portion when the two of us can interact with, as we're excavating something out, or he'll bring his portion of manna to me in the morning and just say, hey, look at this. And, my spontaneous explosion of champagne all over the place when I get excited.
There's thousands.
Because it truly is it's a life-changing study. And, again, it's the revealing of you. Mm-hmm. So Ken has always said, and I love this, look as it, not at it. Because, when you take one word and you excavate just one word, you look at it and you meditate it and you ponder it until it becomes part of you, until you get that aha moment where it shifts from the mind into the heart. And when it shifts right here and it comes into the place of the heart, you are truly changed, because it's bypassing the ego. It's touching you at the soul and the heart level, the spirit level of where Abba, source, origin, dwells. And you're connecting the two in the revealing of the trueness of the reality of who you truly are, and not your ego. So anyway, I think that this is going to be a really good switch for us. And I know that I did see a comment about someone concerned about not being able to pay for it. Now, I totally comprehend that. I understand finances and whatnot. I am going to wrestle here. I'm going to be pretty transparent about something that I've been wrestling with, and I have been wrestling with this. And some of you have followed me on my own personal journey that have had personal conversations with me know how much this is a very big step for me to even consider opening a Patreon account, even though I've had multiple people come and suggest it to us over the last year. I've been putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. So I'll be vulnerable here to let you know, shadow work. Part of it is that I haven't valued myself. And because I haven't valued myself, I have chosen to share much of what I have for free on YouTube. And that was in a way that if there is no value attached to it, then therefore there's no risk of being rejected. Hopefully you guys can hear me say that. This is some tough shadow work I've had to face. But what I've realized is that I have given much of my own pearls. And like my husband said, I've opened up the storeroom and I've brought people into the place of intimacy of my 11 years of excavation of this. And I haven't really guarded and protected my treasure. I've just been giving it away for free. And I know that there'll be people that will bring up scriptures and say, well, freely you give, so freely you receive, so freely you should give. But really, we should probably go and dig up that scripture, because I can let you know that there's much more to that than the surface value of the English translation, because there is value in the work. So I had to wrestle with that. And I had to realize that Ken and I, in our excavating for over 11 years, and again, those of you who know us on an intimate level know how much time and energy we put into our level of study at the cost of many things so that we can present this stuff to you. And the other thing is the energetic exchange of us being able to do this for you, and the exchange of energy coming back in as a blessing of honoring one another through this exchange of giving and receiving. We have left that out. So I'm at the place where, for me personally, I respect and honor myself and all the work that I've done in the last 11 years to be able to be at this point where I can share these things from the place of my heart. So I'm excited. I'm excited that I had to wrestle through that. I'm excited that I'm actually walking through it. But I can tell you, this struggle to put up the Patreon page was like 4 months. Like, it's taken me 4 months to do this because of the wrestle that I've had.
I will say that I watch, again, for me, please hear my heart in this, because of my temperament. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm just stating I'm okay with who I am. But I know some people, they read it a certain way. I'm not responsible for that. I'm just responsible for being me. And I could just go to work. I don't have the energy anymore to do both, because I was waking up so early because my heart was to release the information of these years. But then I'd have to go to work, and I was realizing, I had nothing at the end of my day for my family at all. And I just I can't do it anymore after what we've already done. I said, something has to give. So our heart is that we go into the ministry. And I know in most countries, traveling minstrel would show up in the way of ministry and they'd be welcomed. In this country, it's a little different. That it's funny. We're kind of shunned at almost a little bit. It's kind of inverted, and that's okay. But I know for myself, I can just turn things off and I can go back to work and I can supply for what our needs are. But we're going to step this out in a direction and have faith that we will be met with kind. And what I mean by kind is the word for chen, and that's grace. As we step out in our grace, that I trust Spirit will meet us with the same measure or a greater of grace. And that is chen, and that is a double-fold measure. I've seen my wife wrestle this.
Oh, gosh. That's like an understatement.
It's an understatement. But again, I would expect this, because the word contention is directly connected to Dean, which is the word for judge. Any judge knows that really what we're going to be sharing on this next platform is the art of war. And it's directly connected to the art of war. Let me finish that statement. The art of war is peace. Mm-hmm. But we have to know what it is. As the God of Israel, Yod He Vav He, as a template, it's showing us that it's not an outward thing. It's an inward contention that seeks resolve. The resolve is peace. Mm-hmm. And so we need to redefine what war is as affliction or as opportunity of ill will into well will. And that's what we want to share on the more of the sod level of paradise. And so a new pathway to build paradise, so we know what it is to be encircled and surrounded is the same word for chuppah, and it means the place of engagement begets the wedding. And so that is the center, but we have to know how to build the chuppah, the covering, the surrounding, the encompassment of environment of what it is to be a dwelling place, to know what that even feels like as a resonance of action. So in this, I've watched my wife wrestle the whole procedure of, do I do this? How do I do this? The painstaking process of even applying a sum of measure of energy exchange in the form of currency to say, does this have worth? And Carrie, like you've given your life to the point where it's now become a sacrifice, that she is now in a place of, and I want to focus on that. But we've realized that that what she has given at this point is to a detriment of herself. And now this is the next step for her to apply her own level of how to contend with herself. So, because any king knows the way of the judge, they go hand in hand, and this is the benchmark. But we have to know the legal language of how to transact to become that calling and that level of intention to be called judge. So she's judging herself. She's in much contention with doing what she's doing to affix a price to it, to say, is that just? Is that fair? But again, we've been in the scriptures to realize that it's not really what things say. We have a tendency to regurgitate things as more of a lockdown to keep really the kingdom from being manifested and paradise to be totally built as an intention. Yet that takes much long suffering and much contention within ourselves to produce that measure as a frequency.
Yeah. Well, one of the things too, I wanted to share, I really appreciate my husband, sharing the aspect of what he sees of what I've been wrestling for months on end. I kind of want to also just let you guys know why we were so silent for a while.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't much posting for like 6 weeks. Because of the way that I was sharing through YouTube, prolific sharing in like less than 2 years, over 750 videos posted, let alone all the live streams. That's a lot. And sometimes it's like 2 a day, 2 videos a day. I wasn't very smart about it. I was pouring everything that I had out, and there was much that was sacrificed in the process, and my health took a huge nosedive. And so for the past 3 weeks, not only did I come off of having this serious flu bug for 2 weeks, but the past 3 weeks I've had to reorient my body. And I don't mind sharing this with you guys, but really, since I opened the YouTube channel, I've gained 50 pounds. And a lot of that was from some depression that came in because of the level of pouring out and what I've had to deal with to try to get myself out of the hole I dug by pouring out too much and doing it for free, spending 70 hours a week on my arse doing this, with nothing else, and then working a part-time job to be able to help fill in the increments so I could keep doing this. And so I had to reevaluate everything. So we had to back off, and we had to talk about this. And that's why the word sustainability came around again. It's like we're teaching the way of sustainability, but yet I wasn't implementing it. Mm-hmm. And for me to really say that with you guys in a transparent moment, I was actually being pretty hypocritical. That's very hard for me. That's not a word that I really enjoy. That's a word that I kind of beat myself up with, because I spent many years in dramatic arts, purposely being a hypocrite. A hypocrite is an actor, one who wears a mask. I spent most of my younger life in dramatic arts because I was trying to run away from who I was. And not that I was faking anything, because everything that I share is from the heart, but yet on the other side of it is that there was a level of depression because I was letting my body go. Some of the things that were very near and dear with taking care of my temple, I stopped doing. And 50 pounds is a lot. 50 pounds in 2 years is a lot. 25 pounds a year, that's a lot of weight increase. And I can blame it on hormones. I can blame it on anything else that I want to try to justify it, but I'm not justifying it anymore. So I had to get my temple back in order before we could actually move forward with this thing. So a little bit about my private journey. And because we're choosing this direction, what I am most excited about, you guys, really, and this is like my heart, always tears. My husband has worked his butt off every summer and spring to be able to help afford us to be able to go through the winter and to present things to you. We're missionaries. We're uncommon missionaries because we support our own mission, and we have done that for 11 years. And so physical labor, building things, building decks, remodeling, you name it, all this external work, being dealing with people's yards,
Whatever.
whatever.
Dig a ditch.
Go in and dig a ditch. We've done that every spring and summer to get us prepared so that we could do our mission work in the winter months. And physically our bodies, we're getting older. And it's been very hard because we've had to back off on the summer of being able to do what our hearts really want to be able to survive during the winter. So we want to be able to shift. We just want to shift it around to make it sustainable. When the work happens in the spring and the summer and the early fall, we can't share as much. I mean, that's why you wouldn't hear much from Ken, because he would be out going and breaking his back and trying to make it so that we could still share our heart, share the language, share the love with everybody else in a way that we could survive in the process of it. And until things happen, until things change, until monetary ways of us having energetic exchange changes, this is what we have. And this is what we have to do. And so this way, it will help assist us be able to be more consistent with what we post and having Ken's presence more available. I really want him to be able to share from his heart as well. You guys have heard plenty from me. But I want to bring Ken's voice up more. I want to have his face and his presence to be more available to all of us, because he has lots of pearls of wisdom and he sees from a different fractal, like take the gemstone and just turn it just slightly. And he has a different way of seeing that gemstone in a different fractal of light. And I think it's a beautiful balance. And I want you to hear from him more. So.
Yeah, honestly, I watched my wife. And I had one of the reasons I stepped away too is I realized that, again, using language and getting a little transparent here, when you partner with the language long enough, and I'm only sharing, that it starts to present itself as a resonance of opportunity, and you start to realize that it presents itself in an experience that you get to enter into to apply something to produce the resonance of that word's intention. And after many years of doing this, at first it's difficult to see, and then you start, oh my goodness, when it starts to open up, it then creates a reality of like a window of opportunity for you to enter into to then experience that word in the now time. And I was able to watch my wife from my perspective, and still I was journeying into my own revelation of where I am. And the Spirit has me into more of the sod, more of the esoteric, more into the ether language of not really researching anymore per se of another man's definition or another man's writing or renderings, more just allowing the meditation to be what it is and having the word express itself to me and then encounter the word that way. So I had to engage my own level of contention within, so a judge measure can be brought forward in the frequency of what the word is. So the melit can come out, and through the processing of Zadik, through the processing of right and just standing, it has to be enacted. So really what I was doing, I was saying I need to remove myself because I felt like I was not being fair to myself. And mother's component of the language is the purpose of validation that then rolls into father's level of invalidation that doesn't need to really be heard or really as a face. It's just, you've just gone to that place of more of your hoop has been built and you're in the sanctuary of self, and that is your well within. And so I was building this and I was just experiencing this. And so it pulled me away more from the platform, going like, no, I call it the way of the silent song. And because it's just a frequency that is more of a resonance of tone than it is of word. But in this, I was able to watch my wife, and really I was able to see, as we all do. So I'm not saying just her, but I know in her level of transparency, I can use this as a model. That really what she did is, because of her heart to give and her heart for generosity, she really built her own Sheol. She built her own proverbial Sheol, where then she was then presented with the question, because that's what Sheol means. You then form something, because paradise is connected to Sheol, because the resolve of Sheol is paradise. And so she was then presented with a question: is this sustainable? Who are you in this? And it presented many questions that she was then, because I know we both know how the language works, that she then had to activate in for her resolve to come forward as a not, the answer. And so that's exactly what she's doing now for this. She's asked herself the question, she's put herself in a deficit, and now she's pulling herself out by applying the answer to the frequency of the resonance of the word. This is what it is. The word is not distance, because we become the living word. And so she's applying it as a judge should, and as a Malakah should. She's rightly ruling and reigning herself as an environment and as a government by activating it. And we want to teach from this place of how to surround and encompass ourselves as individuals and corporate to make more of a garden surrounding, or more of a forest setting, because that's what paradise is too. It's more of a place that many trees can show up and have the safety to grow. And so that's what our heart is in this. So it's my honor. It was a privilege for me to watch. And I'm only here to really share with my wife for as much as she wants me to share with her. Her wrestle is her wrestle, is my wrestle is my wrestle, is yours. But it was an honor and it's a privilege to watch her enact the language through her lenses, to then see it, to have contention come forward as a resolve, and to see this judge to find center balance and then apply that. That is truly a privilege when you can watch it in your home and you can watch the transaction of maturation take a full measure through responsibility and accountability.
I really appreciate you saying that. You know, I will say that my husband has this is the beautiful thing about my husband and I and our relationship. And I'm going to get to cry. My husband lets me wrestle, meaning that he removes his hands and sees the wrestle and knows that he can't touch it. He can't do anything about it. It's like that. My friend Kathleen's on here, but it's about the butterfly. It's like being in that chrysalis, you know, before I go in and I'm out on the branches and I'm eating all the leaves, right? And I'm getting fat and fluffy. And then all of a sudden I go into the chrysalis time where I begin changing and transforming. And in the process of changing and transforming in that chrysalis, that he takes his hands off, because he knows that in order for me to be able to truly fly, I need to do what I need to, wrestling that change and to break out of the chrysalis so that my wings can begin to flutter and I can take flight. And he knows that it has to be hands off. Doesn't mean that he's not there to support and to love me. And when the tears come, to be able to give me a hug, but he's had to watch. He's watched all of it. And he's provided a very safe place for me to do that. And, you know, and then really that's kind of our heart, as well as on the Patreon account. Not that we're trying to convince you guys to come and support us on Patreon at all. But the heart is to create a safe place where we all can spread our wings. So we all can get into that chrysalis, because I'm telling you, as you guys have probably seen, those of you who have been with us for a while as patrons on YouTube have seen that a lot of these verses that we have dug up have brought up some things that we've had to wrestle with. Some things where we've had to take some of our religious programming and really look at it and go, wow, okay, what do I do with this? You know, whenever a foundation is being shook, it's not comfortable. Anybody who has gone through earthquakes know what that's like. And so when you have a spiritual earthquake and you realize your foundation is being shook, as all things are going to be shook, so that the true and the truth that is will emerge, it is very difficult. So I'm very grateful that my husband has provided me that safe sanctuary to do that, and that he's being able to witness coming through the other side. But there's still more work to do. So I'm just grateful. I'm just really grateful.
Well, as am I, and I'm grateful.
Well, and it's, you know, honestly, it's been hard on our marriage. I'm not gonna lie. It's been very challenging.
There's nothing easy about wrestling. Again, we can put on a happy face. I live in the present, and we want to be an expression through what the word is doing. I do not. That's why one of the reasons I left the Christian church. I love it for what it did for me. I love the stepping stones that I was able to encounter intimacy. My heart is worship. My heart has always been worship, but I needed to redefine it, because I think I was worshiping worship. There was very few people that could take that and steward the atmosphere and take it into the celestial through the toning of spirit language versus words. And so we seek that in everything we do, and we apply that frequency in the essence of what we're doing. And it's the language of transparency. because everything about this language is shadow work begets shadow that begets shadow, and at completion, and that's the same word for encompass and paradis. It means you've fully navigated yourself from ill to well, and you're rendered clear as a result. But we can't forget that in this journey, we use these English words and we lose really the content or the intention because of how it's been moved, into lesser degrees of frequency through the English and through the Greek and through the Latin. And I mean no disrespect to those. There still is an influence there. But when we move it back to the source intention, we can say that we are all creating circumstances. But the word circumstances means to come around in a circle, to come around to know the way how to stand. That's what circumstance means. So we are either in a place of not standing because we don't know how to come around to navigate, because the language is all about going in a circle from a point of ill will to the intention of well will. And that's body, soul, and spirit. And so that encompasses all the degrees of what it is in the protocol's approach to know what it is to be a temple and how to service the temple in a frequency as a resonance of being it. So our heart is that. And honestly, there's so much compression. I can feel within myself that I'm excited about the Cresto meeting that we're going to be doing, because I want to release a frequency, and it's not even words. It's just more of a groan and a wail from the soul, from the deep within us. And I want to deposit that into the earth. And that's a fragment of what we want to do from this new platform, is a release of frequency, deposit it into a people that know what it is to be priestly again, what it is to be carriers of a frequency, a resonance of resolve that is called the way of wellness, the wilderness walkers that are the answer to the question of Sheol, which is really what the world is as a metaphor. It's not even metaphoric. It is metaphoric, but it's also it's pointing to itself to say this is exactly what it is, where we ask the questions for the purpose of what resolve is.
Yeah, so just bringing that in, if some of you aren't familiar with that word Sheol, it's commonly translated as hell. But when you look through it and through the Hebrew, it means the place to inquire or ask questions, inquiry. So the reason for that is because Sheol, the way it's spelled, just bringing in some Hebrew on here, Sheen, Aleph, Lamed. You have the Sheen, which means consume or fire, and then you have Aleph and Lamed. This word is like, if I were to break it down simplistically for you guys, it would be the fire of God that burns you. I can see why they made something hell, but as hell, to say the fiery furnace of hell where suffering happens, but that doesn't mean that. It means that this fire that is coming to touch you, you don't have answers for something. So the strong leader, a strong leader who is a teaching shepherd, is poking, prodding, and stinging you, and you're feeling the heat of the burn because you don't have an answer. So something has happened. The fire has touched you. You don't actually have an answer for it. So you're seeking a resolve. You're coming with questions. And so to attach that to what we want to be teaching more on in our Patreon account is that as a priesthood, as Melchizedek's, the priesthood is supposed to be those who bring the answer. Bayit Anoth, the temple of answers. And so the Melchizedek's are meant to have those answers for the people who are in Sheol that are seeking. Why am I getting burned? Why is there something that's happening to me that is causing me uncomfortableness? And a lot of times that has to do with our own internal work. And it's manifesting externally as a prophet to us to show us what we need to deal with, that is meant to instruct us so that we can be a strong leader, so that we can rise up. And it's interesting that even Rav Shiliach Shaul, the great Apostle Paul, which many kind of like dog a little bit, his name literally means the one who seeks. He is the one who seeks, that travels about as a Shiliach, as an apostle, helping to be able to answer questions for people. And he had a deep knowledge of the scriptures. He had a deep knowledge of the hidden message within the letters, and was able to read the code but could only share certain things. And this is why even Peter said that some of the things that Paul wrote are very hard to comprehend. Hence why we have these interpretations and translations in English that make people want to throw all of his writings out. But if we could teach you guys the essence of even Paul's letters so that you could see the beauty of the significance of what he knew through the language, what he was attempting to convey to people who were trained up in the way they should go to read his writings, to take a look at the code and break down the verses. It is truly, truly life-changing in temple building. So
yeah, there's a word, bavakasha, and it actually means please, right? But really, when you do the extrapolation on it, I won't go into the breakdown of it, just to keep it simple, what Carrie was talking about. It really means pleased, but its root. And I love the language because if there is a peripheral of the branches and there's a trunk of the tree, then there's a root system. And I love taking everything to the primitive root. So bavakasha means please and thank you kind of a thing. It's more of a gesture. But when you go into the sod level of it, it really says for those that seek. And then it starts to extrapolate out a little bit. And it's going like, this is the beauty. This is the pleasing. And it means to be doubly built through the maturation of mother, who validates you to go into the invalidation of father. You now become a mystery and you're behind the veil. Again, this is the Hoopa language of the active engagement is the process of wedding, which is the fulfillment of vow. And that's what the language is about. And in the essence of what this is very, very much, without taking it into law, but it is a very legal exchange. Just like we are held to a constitution, the vow is also a constitution. And so this constitution, again, that means to be rendered down is clear, because that's what constitution is. It's a compressed version of frequency that it can only be experienced through expression of journey. And this is where we have even the language of deposition to position. It's even the science where we get consciousness from, right? From the low, from the Lamed Olive, we're taught the way of one. And that's the deposition. And deposition is where we really transact. We converse with the lawyer, but that's us, to say how, as a witness, as a testimony, what are the acts of this account of your journey that we need to clarify that aren't brought into the level of confusion when you take the stand. Because that's now because this whole process of circumstances is knowing how to come around to stand, to turn the circumstances into an environment that the environment will be called paradise.
Hence why opening up the Patreon page to raise up leaders, first fruits.
For we should know that from Lamed Olive, the place of deposition is a mirror of El, God.
Olive Lamed.
That's the position. That is the lofty position of abundance. That is the high calling that simply means you are one who was taught in the frequency of intention.
A strong leader, teaching shepherd that has the staff of authority to help shepherd others.
Right.
And that's our heart. That is absolutely our heart on the Patreon channel and why we're opening it up. Again, I think it is going to be a beautiful exchange. I have no idea really what to expect. Honestly, I don't. But I know that it's going to be a great place for us to gather because we're going to do the bulk of our live streams there.
Yes.
Just to let you guys know, we are committing to at least doing one live stream a week with you guys every Saturday. And I know this may not be convenient for people that live in different places around the world, but the replays are going to be made available to everyone. But we want to engage more with you in a place. I just think it's going to be a wonderful place to build family like that. The way that it's going to work is every other weekend, Ken and I are going to come on as a question and answer or a topic. Something that Spirit has been brewing within us, the Ruka, the Kucha that has been working on us throughout the week. And also time for you guys to ask questions, really engage us by coming together as family. On the opposite weekends, and this is the part, we're 51 in this, so I don't know how long, if people are still hanging with us. I see about 40 are here. But I wanted to let you know, I am super excited what I will be doing on the opposite weekends. So on the opposite weekends, when Ken and I aren't here, I am starting to go through the book of Revelation. And I'm going to go chapter by chapter, verse by verse, and we are going to take it in that hidden esoteric sod level side, not so much the surface orientation of the pashat of the surface, but the intimate revealing, because that entire book at the sod level, at the mystery level of the hidden level, is the revealing of you.
That's your crown. There's a crown there.
So I want to start by going through that, and I'm very excited to announce that, because I've talked about some of the verses before. I went through a whole chapter where on the YouTube channel. And by the way, all the information, I am going to keep all of that information on YouTube for those that feel like they are not able to come over and support the Patreon page. There are so many videos for you guys there. You know, we have poured out our heart. You know, it's probably 850 to 900 between the videos we've posted and our live streams that you can glean from, that will take you many hours to be able to accomplish.
Oh yeah.
Many hours. And we give a lot away on that to people so that they have the ability to see the beauty and the depth of this language and the revealing of you through many of our experiences with it and what we've shared with you. But for the book of Revelation, you know, I want to despookify the whole thing, because the way it has been written in English, it shares that we're entering into this deep doom and gloom period of time. Are there earth changes that are happening? Yes. I mean, all of us are seeing that right now as the land is shifting and the earthquakes and the volcanoes. But at the same time, even though there's a surface translation that things that are shifting, if we can truly understand that deep, hidden, mysterious side of the revealing of us, it gives us the ability to stand in the middle of those things that are happening in the external world, because we have a sure-footed foundation of knowing who we are, because it's being revealed to us through the process of it. It literally is a blueprint of our becoming in the place of becoming Mashiach, becoming Christed, becoming as the anointed vessels, greater things you shall do. Because the many of us are going to be walking in, and it's not just going to be one individual that is carrying this mantle, that is carrying this mandate, but the many. So I'm very, very excited. And for me, I wanted to keep it on the Patreon side, because these are pearls of wisdom that are being shared. And this is a very intimate knowledge, a very intimate knowing of what the writings are saying at that sod level. And of course, it will be coming through my heart translation, because anyone who translates the word based upon Mother's teaching of the ingathering of what the letters mean, some of the hidden esoteric side of it, and then moving into the Father's teaching, which is really the depths of the inner work of the human soul, that needs to be guarded and protected. And I've shared a lot. I had to kind of back up a little bit and go, wow, I was revealing a lot of those hidden esoteric things out there on the mainstream platform, in which maybe some people weren't really ready for it. And unfortunately, what ended up happening is, if somebody hasn't gone through some of those internal workings, they can hear words, they can hear cliches, they can hear phrases, and they can begin speaking them without having the heart transformation actually take place. And so again, I'm moving it to a place where it is for those who are really wanting to dive in into the language itself, not just hear it and then, you know, begin quoting some of the things that I have shared, but letting it marinate and change you at the heart level and not just the mind level, so that we can connect and have heart-brain coherence. I need to be able to protect that, as to honor Mother and Father and their teachings, and putting it in a place where it is sacred and set apart. It's not, hear my heart when I say that. Hear my heart when I say that. It's not that I'm separating myself from those, from the looky-loos that were come, but I want to honor the work that is there already, for that which was already written for those who would have the eyes to see and ears to hear, so that it can be, shared in a sacred space, a holy space, as those who are seeking wholeness, being healed as one who is uninjured, which is really the definition of holy. So for those of you who have just joined, Subi, we are talking about opening a Patreon channel on February 22nd of 2022. So just so that you know, just also let you know that when you get onto Patreon, the Patreon page is just like our YouTube channel, the Stand 121, exactly the same. So it'll be very easy to find us, and we will be opening that in, I'll be setting to open that first thing in the morning, probably at 6 a.m. Pacific time. The doors will be open. There won't be much on there yet, because we're going to be building this as we go. I'm trying to put a few things on there ahead of time, so you have at least something to see, but the live streams will be starting right away. The only thing that I want to tell you guys about that might make it a little bit different is that when we are in Crestone, although I've committed to do the 2 live streams on Saturday, one with Ken and I, and the other one going through the book of Revelation, we are going to do our very best to live stream some of the events while we are in Crestone. It may be very rudimentary because we don't have all the fancy equipment, and I don't have a professional camera crew that is going to be recording it. We just don't have that ability. It's just Ken and I, homegrown, grassroots, with what we got. So we will do our best to be able to share that with you, some of the teaching and sharing times that we have that will take place of those 2 Saturday meetings that we will be missing on the first month of opening the Patreon page starting in March. But you will get more because we will be posting those live streams. So it will be more than just the one on the weekend. The other thing, and yes, as above, so beloved, that we chose that date, particularly the 222 on 2022, because of the significance of the numbers. The 222 has always been for us with the Hebrew and Aramaic languages since the day one that we opened the channel. One more thing, and then I'll let Ken share some more because I'm hogging the mic time here. He's being incredibly patient with me. There is an element that we are going to be bringing that isn't currently on the Patreon page when you guys go on to it. We are going to be opening a 4th tier starting in early spring, probably close to when we get home from Crestone, but it's going to take us a bit to be able to figure out how to fully navigate this. But we are going to be opening a section called Temple Care. It's actually going to be under Haikala, which is an Aramaic word for temple. And there's a lot just in that word. And for some of you who know Aramaic, you will be excited just knowing that we're using that word, the Haikala, and what that means in totality. But this is going to be a body wellness section where we are talking about how to take care of the temple. And we are going to be bringing nutrition articles. We'll probably have some live streams with people that we bring on that we know that are in the health and wellness industry that will be able to share some of their aspects. We're talking about doing videos of movement. So that you guys can start bringing some different fitness modalities in to your life. And we will be bringing forth recipes. It's going to be a whole nother section that is going to be accessed. It'll have the access of everything else that we're sharing with the sacred languages and all of the interviews and all that. But it's going to be another tier that is going to be allowing you to just do the complete cycle of body, soul, and spirit.
That's what I was going to share. Was about the Hekla, about the protocols to approach. You cannot separate the body and the spirit and the mind and the heart. It's impossible. They're all connected, and when we find the synergistic value of that, then we find center is balanced, and we want to bring that approach. We were shared a while ago now about the importance of maintaining the body as a gift. It's our responsibility. And in right definition, war footing reveals the head. And what I'm even saying by that is that's the Aleph Tav. In right definition, is there going to be some friction to produce a measure? Absolutely. But that's exactly a weights and currency of scale language that shows truth. It's going to find its own balance within us. There's nothing anyone can do for you. We have to do this ourselves. And I think for Carrie and I, our whole heart is protocol to approach that we redefine reverence. How do we approach our own sacred fire? Do we just throw a log on it, or do we really bow in reverence as in something that is placed gently and kindly? We need to really enjoy the journey. The destination is really not it. It's all about the journey. That's why we're here. And I do appreciate my wife's approach. It is part of my value system is accountability and responsibility. And I know that it was a concern, but again, as she said, my hands were off to what she was releasing. But there is a weight and there's a level of responsibility and accountability to the soul level of Father. It's not that it's hidden, because everything is revealed. We just can't see it because we aren't tuned to the frequency of intention. So in that, Mother has a purpose, and her purpose is that we develop, that we would know how to steward the power of Father. Unfortunately, if we were just to say, "Oh, these mysteries revealed, and here it is," and we're shedding light on Father, we're really doing a disservice to the weight and the responsibility what Father is as a frequency within us. And so I appreciate that we're retuning ourselves to retune all of us as a frequency of Paradise. As we build this as a safe place, as we encompass ourselves, we then join hands as a circlet, as a frequency of resolve together. And so, again, this isn't about hiding information. It's about revealing it in the measure of those who are responsible enough to steward the frequency of intention. And that is a very sacred place, because it's you becoming sacred. It's you becoming the resonant frequency of a fire that is kindled within, that now knows head fire, the way of the Rashid, right? The way of Bereshit, the way of how to build this. And when you build this, you realize, I think like Carrie and I, that when it's built, and not saying that we're built, we're all in process, but the level of weight and responsibility, you don't squander this. It's about putting it in the hands to set people up to succeed. And so everything that we do, whether it be the body, the soul, and the spirit, part of the temple approach in this is all about stewarding ourselves so we can steward you correctly to set you up to succeed, that we're no longer under obfuscation of scripture, just in the black and white narrative that is there, but it's not there. It's kind of a little deceptive. And I know many of us as a group are really wrestling that to say, what is this really saying? I know there's more. There is more. There is a lot more. But only in the hands of gentleness and kindness and innocence and purity will it be revealed. This isn't for contorting. This isn't for holding. This isn't a hostage thing. This is simply a protocol that is released in a measure of how we learn how to steward ourselves first.
That's good. That's really good. I do want to just share with you guys real quick the word Haikala for temple. Just as a very quick breakdown, it's Heyod, Kaf, Lamed, Aleph. And Haikala, so this is the revealing of the power of the bride who will receive her crown, who is being expanded into the infinite potential of everything as one. So that's a very quick breakdown of the word Haikala for temple. And it does incorporate the bride. And of course, when you receive the crown as the bride, you've actually become the queen. And when you become the queen, you become sovereign. So this process of the Haikala, of the fourth tier that we will be opening in early spring, is that process of us becoming into receiving our crown through the sacred wedding, of unifying the masculine and the feminine energies together and having the vessel be made complete, body, soul, mind, spirit. So very, very excited. I look forward to doing this. We really don't want to keep you guys any longer.
No, thank you.
But for here at the end, just the news of those of you who have just joined us late, we are opening a Patreon page on February 22nd of 2022, a very significant date. And this will be made available. There's 3 tiers currently. For those of you guys who are wanting to know pricing, I will tell you right now, the first tier is $5. Second is $13. The third one is $22.22. And there's very specific reasons why we're choosing to use those numbers. You can go on when we open the page. We'll be targeting about 6 in the morning Pacific time for that to be opened. There's not going to be a lot of information on it because we are building it as we go. But we're very excited to share this with you and building community and building family in a place that should be paradise as we begin to build ourselves and connect to one another in a way that is much more intimate than what we can afford to do on YouTube as family. Because there's so many looky-loos that just kind of come in, that come and go. And we are really wanting all of us to join as family there. So look forward to that. We're super excited. So thank you for joining us today. I really, really appreciate that. And I'm looking forward to doing more live streams with all of you. Yes, Sue, I just share this. I'm going to put this up. We have done some whiteboard teaching, and I have been able to purchase some equipment that will allow me to use to write on a whiteboard through live streams instead of actually having a camera towards it, so that we can write the spellings and whatnot, but we weren't set up. I didn't want to do that today. I know we're talking about the letters, but those of you who have been with many of our other teachings have shown the painstaking efforts that we've done to show the words, the letters, highlighting them all. And so you are not going to lose out any of that. Have more.
I built my wife a brand new easel. So she'll have the whiteboard up there. We do that. It's one of our favorite things to do because the expression of spirit comes through that. And we can move the language into another dimension through expression. We can actually allow it to be what it is in a word and then move freely to let it flow because it wants to share itself. It's an entity and it wants to share itself through a different expression. So the whiteboard is a great way.
It's a great tool.
Yeah, it's well, I'm looking for a specific word in that, not as a means, but it's just another face that we can use in expression. So absolutely.
All right, you guys, thank you for spending part of your Saturday morning with us. I appreciate it. I have another question. Does Patreon offer a transcript? I have no idea. I am learning as we go. So there are some things that we will be doing that some offers that will be made regarding all the PDF work that I do when I break down through the book of Revelation, and you will be able to see that when you get onto the Patreon page.
Yeah, so, really, the value. I mean, I look at it, and all it is an energy exchange to me of going. That's why we look at anything, and if I go to work, I can't just walk up to the gas station and say, "Hey, I broke down this verse. Can you fill my tank?" They're like, "What? No." But again, this to me, we know the value of currency is really nothing. It's just an allowance for energy exchange. There is so much. There are thousands and thousands of pages that Carrie and I haven't even shared that we just continually work on. When we turn this off, that's what we're doing. We're going into the intimate place always just to say, "Oh my goodness." And so there's a reservoir of our own well that we can share from. And it's huge value. I know to us, it's almost that's what I'm going. It's really, if we were to put true value on it, we'd be moving gold, to really, really put it in its right measure of what Father is as a word system and Mother. But that's not what it's about for us. We just are wanting to produce the frequency of sustainability that allows our hearts to be what we believe they were called to do, to reveal this in such a time, especially when we're heading into such a really distressed season in our world. But this is, again, removed from that. This completely removes your thought process into a place of tranquility and shalom.
All right, you guys, thank you so much for spending your Saturday with us. A portion of it, Toda Rabah. We're very, very excited. For those of you who are not familiar with Patreon, you can go ahead and Google it. I think it's under patreon.com. Let me look here real quick. Patreon. So that you can at least get the web address. Give me just a moment here and I'll put it into Patreon. Why am I having a hard time finding that here? Hold on just a second, you guys. I know this is like awkward silence as I'm looking at all this. I'm like, oh, what are you doing?
I'll sing a song.
Oh.
No.
Are you going to make one up on the spot, on the
fly?
No.
But I am truly excited about Crestone, about just going into tones and frequency like we did about 6 months ago. I love atmosphere, spirit, and just going into the free flow of spontaneity. It's just the most beautiful place for me. So, and that's the power of the word again. You're not releasing per se like us speaking. It's just the compression within you that comes from the deep place and comes out as a tone. That to me is life.
I'm seeing on here that there's probably an app for that too. There's like an app for everything, but there are a few of us that don't have smartphones. We're one of those that doesn't have a smartphone. We've got like a Walmart flip phone, an old one. It was just our choice to be able to do that. We spent enough time on the computer we didn't need to take the computer with us everywhere we go in the way of a smartphone. But yes, there is probably an app for it. So we look forward to seeing you guys there on Tuesday morning. And we look forward to building the channel with you guys. I will let you know, please, as we are building it, because it's just Ken and I, and we're not the most computer literate people. We're doing this by ourselves. And so there might be a few glitches along the way. I promise to iron those out as much as I can, and having a resolve when things happen. I ask to extend us a little bit of grace while we're fumbling our way through some of these new ways to express ourselves.
I can't make this promise, though. I will make this promise that it will be Spirit-led.
Yeah, definitely. If it isn't about that, then we don't want to do it.
No.
All right, you guys. May the Ruka the Kucha bless you in your day today. May Chudutha, joy, be ever present and expanding within you. And we honor you. We honor the light in you. We honor the Creator in you. We say namaste.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom, shalom. Bye.
Ahava.
Ahava.